Today we're going to look at information dealing with Earth's resources. The Earth's environment includes all kinds of resources. You can consider resources renewable or non-renewable. A resource is really defined as something that we need to survive. Renewable resources are resources that are replaced by nature at a rate close to their use. When we look at some common renewable resources, we look and we can consider something like air. Air is an important non-mineral resource used for breathing as well as the generation of electricity. We can consider water, an essential resource for living, but also for growing of crops, generation of electricity, as well as transportation. Sunlight, another renewable resource. Again, it is non-mineral based, and it can be used for growing crops and plants, heating homes, as well as the creation of electricity. Soil, being a mixture of minerals, organic matter, water, and air, as well as organisms, are fundamental for growing crops, as well as for the foundations for buildings. Ice is another mineral-based resource that in modern times has not been so essential for food storage, because once there was the creation of refrigeration, ice was no longer necessary or as necessary. However, it's still very much used in the medical and industrial fields. When we're talking about resources, though, again, we have that category of whether it is a renewable resource and then the non-renewable resources. Most of the first few types of non-renewables that we have listed here, coal, petroleum, natural gas, those are our fossil fuels. And we've talked about those in a previous lesson. But those resources are in a fixed amount and generally used and thought of for the needs based on electricity. Another very important non-renewable natural resource, though, is sand, gravel, and stone. These are mineral-based, and they are essential for the construction of roads and buildings. Salt is actually another mineral that is very essential in the production of chemicals, food preservation, as well as clearing road ice in many parts of the world. A resource can be exhausted, meaning used up, if the demand for that is greater than the supply. And so even we can run out of something in terms of our non-renewable resources if we use it faster than, or if we have a greater demand than what we can produce. On a more global topic, there are some serious environmental issues associated with the recovery and use of resources. And this, the mining of minerals and rocks can harm soil, water, and living organisms. Non-renewable resources are limited and they cause a great amount of pollution. And while renewable energy sources are not polluting, they can be very expensive to use. If we look at a little diagram here, we can see that, our coal burning power plant can cause air pollution and create acid rain. Our offshore petroleum can cause air pollution as well as lead to the potential of oil spills. When we look at something like a wind farm, they can take up a lot of land, and they're really only great for where the winds are strong and steady. When we're looking at environmental issues dealing with resources, whether we're talking energy resources or natural resources, we have to consider the idea of conservation, recycling, and environmental legislation that will help to protect resources and the environment. We're going to take a few minutes, and I'm going to jump over to another set of visuals to talk about what some of the resources are specific in the state of Virginia. So as we go to move into looking at what some of the resources are in the state of Virginia, I wanted to show you all just a simple pie chart or graphic. The percentages should not be, you should not consider each of these natural resources in equal amounts in the state. But in the state of Virginia, we're going to look at how air, plants, metals, energy, water, animals, minerals, and soil. Those are all different types of natural resources that we get from the earth and that we are going to focus a little bit on what some examples are of these natural resources in our state. In Virginia, one of our largest natural resources available to us are our forests. There are two different types of forests that you can have that we find as a resource in Virginia: natural and cultivated. The benefits of and the needs for forests are that they are what we call a sink or a reservoir, something that will take in the carbon dioxide from the air. Forests are also used in the production of paper, as well as wood products for buildings. Natural forests are ones that, as the name implies, appear naturally. Many different species of trees grow in a natural forest, and they grow all over the place. They are not limited in their scope of where they are. Cultivated forests, on the other hand, are generally forests that are grown in rows. They're planted by people, and they're typically one type of tree. In Virginia, some of our cultivated forests really also fall into the category of agriculture because they are apple trees and orchards for growing different types of fruit from trees. In Virginia, another portion of our state that is, or another resource that is in our state, is that what is considered farmable land. And we'll talk a little bit more about where specifically in the state, based on the geology, the conditions are most advantageous for farming. And we'll cover that in a separate subsequent later lecture. Another resource that Virginia has is coal. And coal is a fossil fuel, and it is used to produce electricity. When electric power is created, when the coal is burned and creates steam, which, if you remember from our prior week's lecture, steam produces a turbine, or excuse me, steam will turn a turbine which produces electrical energy. Sand, this goes back to sand, stone, gravel, are very important in mixing cement and mortar. You may not think of it though, but if you think about sand lots and sand pits for kids to play in, sand is also used as a base when laying a footpath or any type of sidewalks. Sand is also used to make glass. Sand in Virginia is often used to mix with different types of soils to make it more more likely to be able to have material things grow in it. Sand is mixed with seeds when you're sowing something. Sand can be spread on icy roads. So sand really does have a lot of very beneficial uses. In the state of Virginia, we also have what are considered aggregates, which are pieces of rocks, whether it's quartz, sand, pea gravel, different types of sand based on the dominant minerals. We also have granite. Some of the mineral resources in Virginia, again, we already mentioned coal, but we have limestone, granite, sand, and gravel. Limestone can be used to make patios, as landscaping rock, but it's also used in toothpaste. Granite is used commonly to make countertops or tile. Granite is also used in the construction of buildings. Gravel is used for driveways. It can be used for drainage, erosion control. And thinking back to animals, animals was one of those natural resources. In Virginia, many wildlife are used for hunting, not just as recreational hunting, but also for food. Aquatic organisms, again, used for both recreation and food. Clean water is an essential resource in Virginia, both for drinking and washing, clean air for the breathing, as well as our beautiful scenery for recreation and tourism. Soil, again, Virginia's soil and land support a great variety of life and provide space for economic activities, offering a variety of recreational opportunities. And lastly, we're going to look at what some of the resources and their common uses. Petroleum is used for gasoline. Marble can be used to make countertops. Natural gas is often used for heating homes. Diamonds are used for drill bits. Copper is used for the wires and for conducting electricity. Wood can be used for furniture. Seaweed can be used for food. And lastly, sand can be used to make glass. So again, today was just an overview on what some of the types of natural resources, whether they are considered renewable or non-renewable, as well as resources that we find in Virginia.